So for the agenda today, we'll quickly introduce ourselves, followed by a brief overview of Clarifruit for those who are unfamiliar with us. And then we'll dive into the most exciting part of this presentation, which is getting a firsthand look at how our AI is really transforming quality control and quality management processes. And for the last few minutes, we'll be happy to answer any questions that are coming in. So hi everyone, I'm Talia. I'm the head of global marketing at Clarifruit. I have over a decade of experience in the marketing tech ecosystem and have been fortunate enough to be here for the last 2 years or so. As part of my role, I oversee all the strategy and development of marketing at Clarifruit, and I'm really excited to be co-hosting this today. So I'll let Roman introduce himself once we get to his portion of this. So just jumping into Clarifruit, as most of you know, the fresh produce supply chain is one of the most wasteful and least efficient processes on this planet. Sadly, about 1/3 of food is wasted each year on a global scale, which is almost about 1.3 billion tons. And, it's not all happening within quality control stages, but it's definitely an area of waste that can be reduced. So why is there so much waste? There's a bunch of reasons, right? But we'd like to focus on one common denominator of waste, which Clarifruit has termed a quality mismatch, meaning there's a huge misalignment with what a buyer is expecting to receive and what the seller is shipping. So the three areas that need a huge improvement to minimize this waste that Clarifruit is helping address are the following. So one, there's no standardization of quality that is being sold between sellers and buyers. So sellers are sending one type of quality while the buyer is expecting to receive a different level of quality, and then it gets thrown out. Two, most inspections are being done manually, which leaves a huge amount of room for subjectivity in terms of the level and type of quality that they have. And lastly, three, which is connected to inspections being done manually, there's a huge lack of real-time data into the quality that's being sent along the supply chain. So looking at the last few decades, we can see that there's been improvements in terms of technology that's available for quality control. And that being said, I would say most quality control inspectors and managers, at least who we speak to, are still using methods from the 1970s, from the 2000s, and they're really missing out on today's breakthrough technology, which of course is AI. Which brings me to Clarifruit, which is the world's leading AI-powered quality management software. So instead of relying on paperwork, on spreadsheets, on physical devices to determine external attributes, our software, which we're going to dive into shortly, is using AI to help inspectors and quality control managers at any point along the fresh produce supply chain to manage the QC processes more easily and more objectively. As well as helping in gathering data and providing more insights and visibility into the produce quality that you're receiving. And so, if I can summarize very quickly the value of Clarifruit, and Roman will go deeper into the benefits specifically related to the AI aspect, I would categorize it into three buckets. So one, we're digitalizing and automating quality control processes at every point of the supply chain journey. And with that, we're reducing the amount of subjectivity that's involved in inspections and increasing the consistency of the quality. So our technology, which you'll get a chance to see very shortly, allows inspectors to do inspections instantly, thereby boosting their productivity immensely. And second, quality control managers are getting all their data in one centralized place, including real-time information and automatically generated reports, allowing them to make the best business decisions that's solely based on data and not on intuition. And lastly, number three, because there's more transparency into the quality that buyers are receiving, there's significantly less amount of rejections that are occurring, which directly affects the profits, of course, for the seller. So that was a quick overview of Clarifruit, and I'm going to hand it over now to Roman, who will introduce himself, and we'll dive deeper into the unique technology that we have and all the benefits that they include. So go ahead, Roman.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Talia, for the introduction. So my name is Roman. I'm leading the AI in Clarifruit for the last 5 years. And our goal is to make AI help you make quicker and more efficient quality control. And we'll see today how exactly this is done. So let's start. First of all, computer vision, this is part of the AI that we're using. We use it to collect visual attributes of your fruits and vegetables. So mainly, Clarifood has three major parts. One of them is the tool for the inspector, which is our mobile app, which is used to collect all the information about the produce. This is the visual attributes, and but not only, also the internal attributes and other measurements. Then you have the administrator backend, in which the process is configured, the process and the standard, and then the inspector using the app will follow this process to get all the needed information for the produce. And then, of course, you have the analytics dashboard, which is the tool for the QA manager to see real-time data about the inspected fruits, and he can make a wise decision, seeing the most current situation of the produce being inspected. So let's now focus on the mobile app, in which all the computer vision algorithms are running, and which is the tool that helps the inspector get the visual attributes quickly and more accurately. So computer vision is basically, no, 1 second, Talia, one slide back. I will tell you when when to switch. Computer vision is basically about analyzing photos, and in our case, this is photos of fresh produce. So we used many sensors of the mobile app, including, of course, the camera, but not only. But also using the inspector gets all the data using also other tools that can be connected to the phone, like for example, refractometers using NFC. So the user can just measure the sugar level of the fruit, and he will see all the data directly in the app. Now let's have a deeper dive on what measurements we do collect. So now it's the next slide. So the most obvious one are, of course, size and color, which are relevant for almost every fruit and produce category. So to measure size, if we are talking about like simple fruits, like simply shaped fruits like tomatoes or apples, we just measure the diameter. If we are talking about long fruits like cucumbers or bananas, we also measure the length. So every fruit has its own specific attributes. If we're talking about color, so we have many types of color that our automatic system is measuring. If we're talking about color intensity, color coverage. Some of the fruits, they have two colors, like apples that they may have green and red. So we measure both primary and secondary color. We also measure variance, which can be a variance inside the fruit, or a variance of the color between different fruits, which may also impact the quality of the produce. In addition to these two attributes, we also have attributes that are more dedicated to specific fruit. For example, stem condition. We measure it, for example, for grapes and cherries and tomatoes. So the stem, for the fruits to be fresh and with good quality, the stem has to be green and fresh. If it's dry and brown, it means that the fruit are not fresh, and of course, this reduces the quality. We also measure the defects. Defects also have very significant impact on the quality of the produce. Of course, it's also very important to know the specific type of defect. For example, there are defects that are progressive. So if, for example, you are shipping your fresh produce to a distant location, you don't want a rotten orange to be in your shipment, because if it happens when the shipment arrives, you have the entire box of oranges rotten, of course. In addition, we measure other types of attributes. For example, for bananas, it's really important to have the bananas cannot be too straight or too curved. They must have a very specific type of curvature. So this is an example of a very specific attribute that we measure. Now let's go to the next slide. Now let's talk about the key benefits for you when you're using Clarifoot. So the first one is objectivity. So not when a manual inspector measures the color, for example, his opinion may be subjective. Two different inspectors may grade the same tomato with two different color levels. While when it's done with an automatic system, you will have a consistent objective result. And this is extremely important when you have a buyer and a seller, for example. The seller can grade some produce like type A, while the seller will grade it as type A, while the buyer will think that this is type B. When you use an automatic objective system, this makes this most process much easier. And of course, the main key here is to reduce the rejections. This is the main idea, because this is where you save the money, because as Talia mentioned at the beginning, this is a lose-lose situation. The second key benefit is, of course, the inspection speed. If using legacy tools like calibers or sizing rings, it will take a lot of time to measure size, for example. Or for color, you will usually many customers, they used to use like palettes, like to take every fruit and see what colors it matches in the palette. Of course, when you're using an automatic system like Clarifruit, you just take a simple photo and everything is measured automatically. You don't need to use those legacy tools. Everything is quick. The next bullet is also extremely important, because you get to measure much more fruits. You are very limited when you are measuring the fruits manually. But on the other hand, you are not limited when you are taking photos. You can take as many photos as you need. If you have many boxes, just take every photo of every one of them, and you can measure hundreds of fruits and all the attributes all together very, very quickly. And of course, this will also make the quality inspection more accurate, because you are measuring much more fruit. The next point is that actually you reduce the inspection to just taking a photo. And the training of new inspectors will take much less time. You don't need to teach them how to use the sizing ring or the calibers or the color palette. You just show them the app and they follow the process. Just take photos, and you have your inspection done. So it's much more easier and much more efficient. Next slide. Now, before we go to the demo, so we support almost all the main produce categories and varieties, including all the different shapes and types we have, including the small ones like, for example, grapes or blueberries, that it will take you a lot of time to measure them manually. While with Clarifruit, you can just take a photo, and in a matter of several minutes, you will have the results. We support working in any conditions. It can be inside your warehouse or inside or on the fields while the fruits are still on the trees. So we still know how to get the needed color and the needed attributes of the fruits. You don't even have to reach the fruit. The fruit can be even high on the tree. You just take a picture of it, you zoom in if needed, and you get all the needed attributes. So no special instructions to take the photos. You just our approach is that you take the photo and we make the algorithms work and get you the results that you expect. Okay, now let's see it in action. So I will share my screen.
Yeah, I just stopped sharing.
Okay. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, we see it. Perfect.
Okay, great. So now let's see how everything is done using the Clarifruit app. So all I need to do is just click on new inspection. I am selecting the needed produce. I will select oranges. I will type the name for the inspection, or I can scan the barcode. I will click next. So everything you see here is it was configured by the administrator in the backend. Now I'm taking the photo to measure the size. So I decided for this inspection to split it to. I have one screen to take a photo for size measurement, and now I have another screen to take a photo for defects measurements. So I have a few oranges here. They're with defects. This is on purpose. And you can see that the defects are being detected automatically. Now I'm taking several photos. I click done. And here you can see all the defects of the fruits that were detected in a matter of a few seconds. So I can click on a specific fruit to enlarge it. I can see it from different sides. I can see the specific fruit among all the others. I can so just to mention a few more features that we are using of the font. So for example, here we are using an augmented reality AR technology, because I took several photos, and in order to know the same fruit appears on several photos, we actually use augmented reality to map the 3D environment, and so we would identify every fruit, even if the picture was taken from different sides of it. So so for example, as you can see here, I see the same fruit from different sides. It was extracted from several photos. Then I go next, and I have my results immediately. You can see the diameter is 85.8 millimeters, and I have the defects percentage. So most of the fruits here are with defect. This is on purpose for the example. And this is how easily it was done using Clarifruit. Just in a matter of taking a few photos, I can measure the quality of my produce. Okay, let's get back to the presentation.
Great. Thank you so much, Roman. Okay, I think I'll share my screen again quickly. Perfect. So I also just wanted to add on top of what Roman just said, you all saw how an inspection works on the Clarifruit app. Everything is customizable. So that process he just did, you can select how you want it to look for the inspector in the field, and you can change everything in real time at the comfort of your desk as a person who's customizing everything. So I think now we'll jump to questions. I know that we had a few that were coming in earlier. I think the first question that we had was, is internet required for the color and defect analysis?
Was it internet? If the internet is required, so no, actually, the internet is not required. we have an offline mode. It's called an offline mode in Clarifruit app. So you, because we know we got this request for several customers that they take photos on the fields where the internet connection is not very strong. So they switch to offline mode. They can work for hours, for how long, for the entire day if they need. Take photos, make the inspections, and at the end of the day, when they come back to the office or the warehouse, when the internet connection is better, all the inspections from the entire day, they are just uploaded and processed, and they see the results in the dashboard as a regular inspection that was taken online.
Okay, great. The next question that came in was, does every license come with this AI computer vision feature? So I think I'll go ahead and answer that. So we have a variety of different license options. So not every license does come with it. However, level 1, for instance, we do offer digitalization of the entire process. To get the AI and this computer vision that you all saw in this demo, it would be level 2. So it just depends on what your needs are. And that's something that we can, of course, discuss with you following the webinar if that's something that you would like. So that was that question. We had another one that just came in. How do you confirm the accuracy of Clarifruit's attributes measurement?
The
Roman,
accuracy.
want to get that?
Okay, this is a very good question. We actually get this from many customers. So the answer is that we just measure it and we compare it to real results. So we do it a lot. We have thousands of measurements that we measure the fruits manually and measure the fruits automatically with our automated system, and we compare the results and we make sure that our results are very accurate. Actually, we did find out that they're even more accurate than the manual measurements, because if you measure the same fruit, if you take several people measuring the same fruit and you take our system to measure it, we see that you have a lot of variance even when people are actually measuring it. But on average, Clarifruit's results are very accurate, and we have these tests in our system. So every change we make, we run it through the entire test set, and we make sure that we still have the highest accuracy for all the measurements.
Great, thank you. Another question that came in is, how adaptable is a Clarifruit solution to specific quality standards for different regions or retailers?
So the answer is that all the standards are configured by the administrator in the backend. You can configure several standards. If you are working with several retailers or several regions, you just configure several standards. Then the inspector completes the inspection process using the app. All the data is added to the system, and then the system matches this data to all the standards altogether. So you can actually see, if you have several standards, you can actually see immediately after the inspection whether it matches the first, the second, the third, and you can see also how close this is to every one of the standards. So it's really lets you take a very wise decision because you have all the information immediately.
Great. Another question that came through in the chat was, is there a limitation on the amount of photos or inspections that I can have and do in my license? So I'll go ahead and answer that. So there's no limitation. You can take unlimited photos, unlimited inspections in your license, and all the data is stored in Clarifruit. It's your data. That's also another question that we get as well. Another question that came in, does Clarifruit calculate aggregate skin defects? Roman, I'll let you answer that one.
Yeah, of course. Well, the question was whether Clarifruit aggregates skin defects.
Yes, or calculates the
Yeah, so defects not all the fruits and have the same set of defects. So We keep updating it every time. We do not support yet all possible defects on all possible fruits. This is still evolving. But definitely, for example, I've showed you for oranges or for tomatoes, we do identify skin defects, of course. And actually, for defects, we have several types of defects. Some of them are more severe than the others. So if the system identifies two different defects on the same fruit, it will consider the most severe one. If the fruit has some scar and decay, the fruit will consider with the decay. But in general, we identify all defects on all the fruits. But for those that we already support, okay.
Okay, great. Next question we have, quality inspections related to Brix levels usually require special devices that you mentioned. You can also measure with a phone. How does that work? So the internal attributes. Roman, do you want to answer that one as well?
Yes, of course. So if to measure sugar level, you would need a refractometer. There are refractometers that support that have NFC chips inside them. So the way it works is just you measure the sugar level with the refractometer as you usually do. Then you take the phone with the Clarifruit app. You just take it close to the refractometer, so the NFC would transfer the data, and then you see the sugar level immediately in the app. You don't need to enter it manually. It will just use NFC to you just place the phone close to the refractometer.
Yeah, and I just want to add that you literally just hold your phone with a refractometer and you tap it and it automatically syncs all the data into your Clarifruit app. So it's very quick, within seconds, you see everything there for any internal attribute that you're measuring. Okay, great. Just we have time, I think, for one more question. I know we've had a lot that are coming in. And what type of mobile devices are supported by Clarifruit if we wanted to use the AI in our inspections?
Okay, so as I said, we use many sensor of the phone. Now, not all the phone models they have all the sensor that we use. For example, to measure the size, we use the depth sensor. It's an infrared depth sensor, which is called LiDAR. Because for example, when you see a photo of a tomato, it's sometimes just by the photo, it's hard to tell whether it's a small cherry tomato or it's a large round tomato. But once you use the depth sensor and you know the distance between the phone to the fruit, you can calculate its size very, very accurately. So we need the phones having depth sensor, and at the moment we have the phones that have depth sensor are the iPhones Pro devices. Okay, so you would need an iPhone Pro device to measure size.
Great, thank you. And I will say that if you are interested in just digitalization, which is a huge amount of our current customers, any smartphone is sufficient. So if you're not interested in the AI portion and you don't have an iPhone Pro or an iPad Pro, you can definitely still use Clarifruit for that level. Okay, great. So it looks like we're just out of time. I know there are a bunch of more questions that we didn't get to answer, but we'd be happy to continue the conversation offline following today's webinar. And we just want to thank everyone for joining us today and taking the time to learn more about Clarifruit. And it's been a pleasure to get the opportunity to share more about how we're transforming the quality management arena through our AI. And we're looking forward to continuing to innovate in this much outdated space and bringing more solutions to produce professionals along the supply chain. So as I mentioned, we've recorded this webinar and you should all be receiving it in your inbox within the next day or so. And as I mentioned, if you have any more questions we didn't get a chance to address, feel free to reach out directly and we'll be in touch. So thank you again so much. And we wish everybody a great day and a great week. And thank you, Roman.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Great. Bye.
Bye-bye.